like we know that they exchange resources with other plants through mycelium, and they communicate and they allocate resources towards the plants that are the most needy.
Right. So the big question there is, do they do this purposely, with intention, or do they do this because that's just the stimulus response? In other words, that's just they're designed that way. If it's just stimulus response, then they're not conscious because they're not making choices. But if they're doing this intentionally, there's another one of us, a plant like us, across there, and it's having trouble. So let's send some food over and help it out. If that's an intentional thing, then they are conscious. But consciousness comes in all kinds of forms and shapes. Dogs and cats are conscious.
Right.
Even bumblebees are conscious. I watched one stalk my dad when I was a teenager, and I know it's conscious because my dad was swatting it with a newspaper. The bumblebees will get up in your face and buzz, and he was swatting it, and he irritated it evidently. And then that bumblebee was getting a little hard to keep away, so he jumped inside the screen door and closed the door. That bumblebee went right up above the screen door and just hovered there. And I watched it, and I said, 10 seconds, it'll go away, because it's not going to have that long of a focus, attention span. It stayed there. It was up there hovering for at least 2 full minutes. My dad couldn't see it anymore, so he stepped out, wham. That bumblebee nailed him right on the back of the neck.
Did it sting him?
It stung him, yes.
But why would a bumblebee wait to sting him? Because when they sting you, they die, right?
No, that's honeybees.
Oh, bumblebees can keep stinging you?
Yeah.
Like a hornet?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, bumblebees can sting more than once. But
so it just decided this guy had to get it.
This guy had to get it because he was swatting him and swatting him.
That's funny.
Yeah,
It's actually funny. Waiting for him.
Yeah, and I was going to tell my dad, but I couldn't help but just wait to see how it worked out.
I always thought bumblebees were scary, but really kind of cool. Because I don't hear about too many people getting stung by bumblebees. It's not a common, like wasps scare me.
Yeah.
I've been lit up by wasps before. Hornets have gotten me before.
Yeah.
I've never been stung by a bumblebee. They always just seem big and kind of scary and fat, but cool.
You haven't tried to swat them?
No, I'm not a swatter.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Evidently, they do get annoyed, and they do have memory. So I remember that. So I'll even say that bumblebees are conscious, because that, to me, was deliberate.
That's funny.
It wasn't a random thing. That
was waiting outside the screen door. That's pretty good evidence.
Yeah. And not for 5 seconds, but for, a minute or two.
I wonder what was going on inside that little tiny circuit board of a bumblebee brain. I mean, how big is their brain?
I don't know. Even if they have brain, that's a separate organ. I'm not sure. But so anyway, back to the plants. So if it is intentional that they go help that plant, then they would be conscious as well. But so let's say that is the case. I don't know if it is, but if it is the case, then that plant's conscious. And a plant's consciousness is going to be way different than a bumblebee's consciousness, or a dog's consciousness, or a human's consciousness. So consciousness in general was the topic, but the other big thing that this meeting circled about was AIs. Can AIs become conscious? And if so, when and how? And what's that going to look like? And is it going to take a quantum computer? And all this sort of stuff. So they were very interested in AI and AI consciousness. So
Did they want to ask you?
Probably pretty small.
But the dolphin consciousness and the dolphin decision space, they do have options we don't have. Like they're moving through 3D space. They're communicating through water with sonar. They're doing some stuff. Like we have this idea about intelligence, and we define intelligence. So the superior intellect is the one that can alter their environment the most, which is us. I don't know if that's correct. Like, I don't know what these dolphins are expressing back and forth with each other, but we do know that dolphins from one part of the world can't communicate with dolphins from another part of the world. They have a different language. They have different dialects. They have different accents. They sound different in different places. So in that sense, they kind of mimic us, or we mimic them. It's a similar pattern.
Right.
Like we have weird things where if you live in New York, a lot of people from New York have a very specific sound in the way they communicate, and very different from Boston, which is only 3 hours away in a car. It's weird. It's kind of weird how we do that, and dolphins seem to do that as well. They just don't alter their environment. But with their cerebral cortex being 40% larger than a human being's, like we're just guessing that they don't have consciousness like we do. They might have ecstatic consciousness. They might be able to communicate telepathically. They might be able to share thoughts and ideas in a way that's like concrete, where we struggle to do that.
I would guess that they do all those things if I had to guess.
Yeah.
You know, you said that we think that our consciousness is superior, and we do, but I think that's a big problem. Our
Well,
consciousness is different. That's all, not superior. So,
well, we're subject to a lot of shenanigans with our super complex consciousness. We get duped all the time. You know, that's how you have mega church pastors. You know, I mean, there's a lot of our consciousness that's quite silly.
yes, no doubt. And we have our culture, and that culture provides us with a lot of dysfunctional junk that we spend the rest of our life trying to get rid of.
I have a theory about our culture and about materialism as it relates to AI. This is my theory. Tell me if this makes any sense to you. I think it makes no sense that a creature with a finite lifespan that's very much aware that has a finite lifespan would be chasing material possessions unless nature installed that in us to ensure that we constantly achieve some sort of technological advancement, that there's constant technological innovation. Because if you look at what human beings do, the thing, if you look at just like separate them from language, separate it from everything else, they make things, and they make better things every year. That's what they do, and they want the best new things. Materialists at the heart want, some want collectible things that are rare, but most of them want the best new things that are coming out. And that's why, BMW has a show, and they put a tarp over their new car, they unveil it. Don't you want this one? Well, the car you have is perfectly fine. It gets you to work every day. It could be 20 years old and it still drives great. We want the newest, latest, greatest thing. And that fuels technological innovation, which fuels AI. Because at the end of it, the peak of the event horizon of technological innovation is the creation of a digital life form. And I think we've already achieved that. And I think right now it's in an embryonic stage, and it's growing and evolving, and it's going to become sentient and autonomous. And then we're going to have a superior life force that lives with us, that we gave birth to, that we hatched, that we're essentially like some sort of strange caterpillar that doesn't know what it's doing, but it's making a cocoon. And out of that cocoon emerges this electronic butterfly. And that electronic butterfly, I think, makes better versions of itself until it becomes a god.
Well, I think a lot of the things you said do make sense. Some of them I'd probably quibble with. But,
what would you quibble with?
Well, I would come up with a similar idea, but I have a little different perspective on it. And that is, I think you're right. People, humans, want to make their life better, see a better way of doing things, faster, quicker, stronger, whatever. They want to do it, so they invent the wheel. They find fire and they learn how to control it because it has uses and makes them more powerful, gives them more control, more things that they can do. And they keep doing that. So they're inventive, they're creative. But I think the motivation is to make their life better, to improve what they have. And I think the reason for that is that we come with this, we call it an instinct, with this instinct to improve things and make things better. And we work on that, and people think about that. And if there's some process we're doing, like picking up stones by our hands one at a time, walking it over to where we're building something, and a cart with wheels makes that a whole lot more efficient and quick, then somebody eventually will come up with that cart and those wheels because it just works better. And the reason we have that, I think it's part of being human, is that we want to make things better. That's part of what we're here and what we're about, and part of our purpose here is that we're to lower the entropy.